everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the House of Peregrine podcast. Today I have on Erin, who is a relocation counselor and consultant who provides one-to-one support, gatherings, and resources for internationals who want to connect and thrive in their new or not so new community. Welcome, Erin. I am so excited to have you on today.
Thank you so much, Mikkel. I'm happy to be here.
I would love for everyone to just introduce yourself to us and let us know where you're from, a little bit of your background, and then we'll get into what you're up to for the international community.
Okay. So I'm Erin, and I moved here to Amsterdam 7 years ago with my husband and my then 4-year-old son. We moved here from Boston, but we had only been living there for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, we lived in Seattle, Washington. And then prior to that, I lived in a couple of other locations. So I traveled around, moved quite a bit in my life. And we moved here and put our son in a Dutch school when he was 4. And time has just flown by. Here we are 7 years later. We had intended, like a lot of people, to stay for 2 years. And COVID hit and things just sort of kept going. We knew we wanted to stay, and here we are.
Yeah, on the same track.
I think so.
8 years. Yeah. I came with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. And so, yeah, now it's 8 years later. And it happens. And so, you know this story well of finding place or moving around and then landing. And so, tell me, you're from the States originally. You moved around a lot there. Why Amsterdam? What made you come to Amsterdam?
Well, we moved here. Just the practical reason is because my husband got a job here. So I was the traveling partner and followed him here. Super, super excited about it. We had always hoped to come to Europe and really wanted to live overseas. We were at the end of sort of our time in Seattle feeling like we wanted a change. So going to Boston was like the next big step for us. And then we just came here and we jumped at the chance. We jumped at it. We just thought it's a great opportunity. It was a good opportunity for our kiddo to learn another language and for us to just experience living in another culture. Yeah.
Nice. And is your partner also husband from the States as well?
Yeah, he's American. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so where do you remember when that impulse came to you? Like when you were like, I want to experience another culture. I want my son to know another language. Like, what was that? Was that just always something in you, or do you remember the moment?
Yeah, I mean, my backstory is that it's just part of who I am. So in the US, I was a clinical social worker, and I just have always had an interest in other cultures, in people who are different than me. And I think part of that is I grew up in a family. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. We're all adopted. My youngest brother is from Korea, and I have a first cousin who is a Korean adoptee as well. People went to the Peace Corps in my family. Like, I just was always exposed to culture, and I was lucky enough to be in a family that we all piled in the van and drove around the US. My parents did a really nice job of like just getting us out and exposed to things. And so I knew that I always wanted my child to be exposed as well. But the other driver for me is I've always had this deep belief that we all should know another language. And it just was such a challenge for me as a kid to get that. And I really was excited for him to come here and be immersed in another language. It didn't matter to me what it was.
Yeah, me too. I always say learning Dutch is a little bit like learning the oboe or something. Everyone thinks it's not useful, but it's incredible, right? It's actually, you're learning a language. You're learning another language by learning an instrument. And so that, yeah, for me, it was the same. And so that's really interesting to hear you say it didn't matter what language, because I have this story all the time with people. And do you think that, so are you learning, like when you were learning Dutch or learning another language as an adult, there's a little bit of mourning that your kid is like way better than you are?
Oh yeah, totally. And I think the thing is, I didn't come into it. I didn't come into it thinking it was going to be easy for me. I knew that I have a background as a medical social worker. So I was exposed to a lot of things neurobiologically, but I knew that him learning any language at that early age would train his brain. He would be learning another language. Whereas for me, I had 2 years of Spanish. And when I started learning Dutch, the Spanish words would come out. And it's not because I was fluent in Spanish, it's because that's what my brain knew. So it's like a completely different way of learning as an adult, right? Like it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I had to go, wait, what? What is a preposition? I had to like relearn the
Yep.
so yeah.
That is so interesting. So neurobiologically, children are learning a language a different way than adults are. We're replacing things, and
Well,
they're, yeah. Tell me about that.
well, they're just, as a 4-year-old, he's just immersed in it. He just was playing and learning it by play, and his little brain was just sponging it up. And in 3 months, he was fluent. And for me, I'm so focused on getting it right, the grammar, the way I say things. I'm embarrassed by it, and it's more complicated. And he just learned it, right? He just learned it. Whereas we're just more focused on the book version of it.
Yeah. Well, it's a little more high stakes being in a big body and having to make adult conversation. But
Yeah.
other than that, they're learning, at least for my kids that weren't quite, their language centers weren't closed. It was like they were learning everything for the first time. So
Yeah.
adding in Dutch, English, Dutch,
Yeah.
it's all just open. So
Yeah.
that was a really beautiful thing to watch, actually. And I am jealous of my children. So
Totally.
I want to go back to a little bit like tell me a little bit about being a medical, you said
Social
counselor?
worker.
Social worker. Tell
Social
me
worker,
what
yeah.
that means.
Well, so actually, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And in the US, what that means is that I can be a therapist. I can have a private practice and be basically a therapist. And in order to be a medical social worker, I worked a long time in oncology with adults who had cancer diagnosis and their families. And we did, as the oncology social workers, we provided the emotional support and counseling for folks that were going through a cancer diagnosis. And in most places now in the US, in order to be a medical social worker, you have to have the license to be a clinical social worker because you need to have that mental health background. As you might imagine, there's a lot of mental health stuff that comes with any kind of diagnosis. And also, we did a lot of health coaching. So I was an oncology social worker for a very long time. And then when we moved to Boston, I became a health coach in a medical setting and worked with people who had been through transition, drug and alcohol abuse, homelessness, lots of mental health stuff, and worked with folks to access their primary care and did a lot of therapy with them as well.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's because it touches every part of their life, right? This
right.
diagnosis touches every part of their life. And let's say a cancer diagnosis or my dad has had heart problems. And you
Hmm.
get that diagnosis and it changes everything.
Yes. And if you're someone who has a heart diagnosis or a cancer diagnosis, you still also have all the other things that you've had in your life. So you might have a clinical depression or stress or, whatever it is. So it's just becomes part of every other part of your life.
And you still have to pay the bills and you still have to adult and you
Yeah.
still have to do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important. So it's to have someone like that by your side is actually really important, if not essential, to
Hmm.
make it
Hmm.
through. And I don't think it's available to everyone. I don't think that this is a new, would you say it's a new paradigm ish in the States and around the world?
No, it's very different than it is here. And we can talk about that. But, in the US medical social work, I think it transitioned. There's been a transition. I think social workers are seen as just sort of navigators and helping people to sort things out, like logistics and resources and getting set up with help at home and that kind of stuff. I think the mental health and the licensed clinical part of it has maybe evolved over time. And I know that I definitely worked in a program where the person that I worked for was a champion of making the oncology program. Social workers worked at the top of their game. Like it was, we had to be really skilled and have a lot of education to do it. But we also have the other side of us, right? So that's part of where it comes in for me is I love to build community. I'm a navigator. I love to help people find resources. I love to help people get connected. I reach out, I resource with people. So that's the other side of it as a
Yeah.
social worker as well. You sort of have that community building and that wanting to help people connect piece as
Be-
well.
because that helps the overall picture.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that, And that's a hidden, I think so many things exist in a container that don't, that just make it worse.
Yeah.
And so, and so I see how this pulls through to what you're doing now. So since
Yeah.
you moved, so when you were a medical social worker and your work there, you were bringing together this individual with your training in medical or mental health
Yeah.
together with the ecosystem of this person and making this new paradigm work. And then you're taking that skill and translating it to people who have moved abroad. I think that's
Yes.
what I see.
Yes. Yeah.
And tell me, and moving abroad is not a medical diagnosis. We all know that,
No.
but it is an amazing or important thing that affects every part of your life. Even
Yeah.
the physical, yes, we know that your containers come, your house gets packed up. But let's talk about the inner landscape of how it
Mm.
affects people, families, systems.
Yeah. So, I mean, the parallels are there, right? There's grief and loss, there's transition, there's stress, there's situational depression, there's anxiety, there's like complete shock. I mean, all of those things come with an international move, and it's always happening. So you might be here for 5 years, you might be here for 1 year. You're always transitioning when you have relocated.
That is so important. Can you say that again? You are
Uh,
always.
you are always transitioning when you've relocated because you're always adapting and adjusting to something new. So, an example of that is I feel very connected into the community here, but whenever I experience something new, for example, my son is getting ready to go to middle bar school, so I know a lot of people can appreciate this. I'm like, oh, this is something completely new, completely unfamiliar to me. I don't even know where to start. So there's that part of it culturally. Like I have a whole system I have to learn, and I've been here for 7 years. And the other part that's happening in that is the emotional piece of this independence that's coming with my son and navigating that in a different way as well.
Yeah.
In
And
a culture where
culturally,
kid,
yeah,
yeah,
when he was born, if you were Dutch, you would have been preparing for this since then. You would have known
yes,
it's here. But you, as a parent who is new to this culture and this system, it's just dawned on you maybe a year ago, this transition. I think it's such an important thing you're saying that it's so easy to forget, even for me, is that as an international person, you are always, always adjusting.
yes,
It
yeah,
doesn't matter. And you're not only are you doing things for your first time in your life, so like you're having a baby, you're getting married, you're doing all the normal, stuff that people do,
mm-hmm,
but then you've got this learning curve and then this
mm-hmm,
emotional curve that
mm-hmm.
maybe you've never seen anyone deal with, or you don't have the tools. Even if you had the
Yes,
tools, who would you get those
yes,
tools from? Because your parents
yes,
probably didn't do this.
yes,
And so that is something that I think is really important. I call it extra cognitive overload
sure,
or
yes,
overhead.
yeah.
Um, and it's really, really good to hear you say that, because I think sometimes life gets overwhelming, but then it's just extra. And of course, we all want to do it. We all are here for it. But knowing that it exists for everybody is really, really just a comforting thought, that we're all kind of doing it together.
Yeah, and I think that's super important to highlight as well, Mikkel, because I think we are doing it together, but also you may not have your team in place to help you do it with, you don't have your team. So if you're talking with your parents who are back in the US or your friends in the US, they aren't going to get it. There's no, they don't get it. So it's so nice. This is why I find it so important to build community here, because it's so nice to be around people who are going through a similar experience. Just like it was when I facilitated support groups for people who had breast cancer. You go into a room and people just get it. You don't have to explain your whole story. So that's also part of really important here to have your community, because then you can be around people who get it, right? You don't have to explain yourself every time. And your family at home and your friends at home want to be supportive to you, but they just aren't experiencing it.
Yeah. They lack the tools as well, right? So
Yeah.
resourcing with people who are going through something similar. And people, I always say, like, I know I live in a postcard. I live in like one of the most beautiful places in the world. I feel so lucky, but at the same time, there's other stuff going on, right? Like there's two sides of that coin. There's a cost to it, but also the benefits are so vast to what we're doing, that it outweighs it. But that doesn't mean we can ignore these things.
Yeah. I mean, we are very lucky. Of course, we are very lucky. Yeah. And many people that we know from other parts of the world say that as well. But also, we are living life. So we do have to pay the bills, and we do have to, work and send our kids to school and blah, blah. I mean, we are living a life in a beautiful place. Seattle's a beautiful place too,
Yeah, I know.
But it is not.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not on a holiday here, We're not on holiday.
And that's a big difference. And I think that especially when I first arrived, and I want to get into your process and everything, but now this is turning into a therapy session, Erin. I don't know. This is just what you do. When I first arrived, I felt a lot of guilt for feeling these feelings
totally.
or these things. I thought it was like a personal failing, or like it would pass. I would get the hang of things. It's like you have these things in your mind. Like, once I learn the language, once I have the house settled, once my kids are settled in school. And I just kept thinking, I'm not getting it. I don't feel how I think I'm supposed to feel on a perpetual vacation in Amsterdam. Like that, so this was a process for me, and maybe for others, to give myself credit for the things I was doing and the process that's happening and that will continue to unfold. And so that's such an important point. And that's one of the reasons I started House of Peregrine, right? Is I wanted to be around other people who knew what it was like to not have an emergency contact.
Totally. It's so great. I mean, the thing is that I don't know if that everybody does this, but a lot of people come and it's like, I was certainly a little bit naive, and I was so excited about the experience. And it was like, when the honeymoon ended, I was like, oh boy, what the heck just happened to me? Like 2 years later, I'm like, wait a minute. And then it's like the reality is there, and you are feeling guilty because this is a place where a lot of people come on holiday and they see you as having this incredible life, which we do. Yep. But also the honeymoon is over and you got to get your life. And figuring out how to work the dryer and how to work the oven. Those are all things that are real challenges when you're having to learn everything.
Yeah, when you're having to learn everything. I love that. Yeah. I always tell the story. I think I've told it on this podcast a number of times. When my son, with the first few weeks we were here, he was 5, and he said, I kept saying something, and finally we're riding down the street in the Bach Beats, and he turns to me, and he asked me a question. I said, I don't know, buddy. And he goes, Mommy, what do you know?
Yeah, it's like, not much.
Not much. And I really think that this experience has shaped my parenting journey in a very unique way, in my relationship with my kids.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So I want to go through what you're up to now. What are you like creating in the international universe that we are all in?
Well, so I'll kind of tell you just quickly the backstory. So at about 2 years after we had been here, I started. Full disclosure, I was not working. We just decided I would come and I would get us settled after we'd moved to Boston. That was a good prep for coming here.
Full disclosure, like, I like how you say that like it's a secret. Like, full disclosure. I was doing the bulk of my family's work.
I was doing all the work. I was doing all the setup. Yeah. And I had never not had an outside job. Like, I've had a job. I left a career that I absolutely loved. So it was a very hard decision to leave. Yep. It was a big sacrifice. Yeah. I was happy to do it, but it was a sacrifice. So about the time that we'd been here 2 years, I started thinking, okay, I have to figure out what I'm going to do, or we're going to have to go back, because this is not my life. Like, I need to work. And then around that time, COVID hit. And we also were thinking, we really loved it here. We didn't want to leave. And in the meantime, I was getting connected to people, friends, acquaintances, people I didn't know were saying, hey, I have a friend who's thinking about coming. I have a friend who's coming. Would you be willing to talk to them before they get there, to talk about schools or where they should live, or, just what's it really like to live there? Yep. And so I just started doing that. And I was, I live in this great neighborhood where there's lots of people that are coming and going. So everyone would come and knock on my door. I would get lots of questions. So I just thought, I'm going to create something, because I was getting repeat questions. What do I do for swimming lessons? Like, I don't want to tell that story 7 times. So
Yep.
So I created an Instagram called Today I Was Asked. And that's the social worker in me, like just wanting to share my information. I also have a huge interest in supporting local companies, small businesses. I just want to see everybody do well. That's working hard. So I started that. But as you might imagine, out of that, I was also listening. I'm always listening with my mental health, my emotional ears, and I was providing emotional support to almost everyone that I talked to. So I thought, okay, there's something going on here. And in the US, I had been considering opening a private practice to do some counseling and supervision for social workers who were getting their social work license. So I thought, I have these skills. How can I do something here? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I hired a business coach who really helped me to just start trying everything, testing everything, blah, 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 figuring it all just at going. It's been kind of a slow drive. But anyway, so here I am. I've transitioned and I'm owning the counseling piece. I am a relocation counselor, and I also am doing consulting for some companies. And I just, I feel like my role is to provide solution. I use the solution focused brief therapy sort of therapeutic approach, which is similar to coaching but I have this background in mental health. So I can really work with people emotionally, think about really what's going on with them, and also help them to kind of keep moving forward. If I feel like people need more psychotherapeutic help, really big, significant depressions or anxiety or trauma, I have a list of referrals that I can make to people. I don't feel comfortable doing that without having a system supporting me.
Yep.
So I support internationals, expats who have relocated, who are lonely, isolated, disconnected, feeling a little unsure, entrepreneurs or people who are considering a job change, people who are transitioning, like you name it.
It
And I
occurs to
also,
me, oh, sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to say, it occurs to me that oftentimes your journey as a traveling partner, is that what you said? Traveling
yeah,
partner?
mm,
Everyone calls it something different.
yeah,
We don't say trailing spouse anymore, but
no,
traveling partner or supportive partner.
yeah,
Your experience there is actually shaping what you're offering is, because often the person who's doing all the logistics and everything for their family is also left with a little bit less support, a little bit less community, because the person who maybe
yes,
came here for a job has a community right away, has a job. And so this dovetails really nicely with your lived experience as well.
yes,
Um, and
yeah. I
that's
mean,
really important, because that's missing in a lot of these relocation, well, just logistics, even if you're doing it on your own,
yeah, yeah.
let alone with a company. So I think that's really beautiful. Anyway, I interrupted what you were saying. I apologize.
No, I agree with what you're saying, and I think where I'm different in the sense that I'm not the relocation company that's going to help you find a house and find a school. I'm really there to provide the emotional support, and
You're there to help them find themselves.
I am, and their community and their
Yeah.
community,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
and I also have a really strong interest in movement, and I know that just getting out and exercising and going for a walk can really boost your mood and impact your mental health, and it
And
also helps you.
that's really hard when you first arrive, because you don't know your places yet.
Yep. And it also helps you to learn your community. So that in itself can be such a mood booster. And this is the thing. I find that the people that I support aren't necessarily the people who are here. I might have a little bit of contact with people before they come, but sometimes it's a year after they've been here because they're settling. They've gone through all the tasks and they don't have time really to deal with sort of the emotional impact of it. It takes some time to realize it. So
Is
that's
there
why
a
I
word for
say,
that? Is there a word for that? What you do when you put yourself, like you kind of dissociate from your own, just to get a job done, just to survive, and then
yeah,
when
it
stuff
is
comes
like
along.
survival. It is like
Yeah.
survival.
Is that what it is? Is it a survival mode where we're like doing, I mean, it looks great because you're like doing the swimming lessons, you get the kids signed up for
Mm-hmm.
you get your gym membership, all that feels great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really dealing with yourself.
No. And what I would also say, I don't know if there's a specific word, but I would say it's survival, right?
Hmm.
The other thing I would say is what I also hear a lot is as parents, we are so worried about making sure that our kids are okay and settled and that everything is set for them, that we aren't taking notice of ourselves and how just our own behavior, our own emotional, maybe lack of emotional awareness might be impacting what's happening with our kiddo. So that's the other thing is I really encourage parents to just take a step back and think about, okay, how do I deal with emotions, stress, anxiety, my kids going to a new school, like I think that there is this thing about parents. We just want our kids to do well. And then we haven't done anything really to think about ourselves. And then a year later is when you go, okay, I'm kind of a wreck.
Yeah.
Or
As
whatever
they,
it is, I'm
yeah,
lonely.
as they say, kids are on your Wi-Fi, right? Like they're on your Wi-Fi.
Totally.
So if you're not well, and that survival energy gets you to where you need to go. But what are some ways that we can identify this survival energy maybe? And it is necessary, we should say, like in those first few weeks, it's important, right? We don't want to say it's not important, but we don't want to be in it for years.
No.
And it easily becomes a way of life if you're doing international moves. And
Yeah.
so what are some ways we can recognize this and maybe get out of it if someone can't call you yet, but they can start recognizing in themselves the survival energy or survival state that they maybe can take a step out of?
Well, I'll give you a really good example. So for me, I had this list of things that I needed to do, right? One of them was figure out how to classic, how to use the dish, the dryer. I could not figure out how to use the dryer. It was an old dryer. It was damaging my sheets. And I was like, I think something's wrong with this. And everyone kept pushing back on me. The landlord, the relocation person, they kept saying, blah, blah, do this, do this. And I was like, there's something wrong with it, I think. But I doubted myself.
Mm-hmm.
Here I was, this woman who has done laundry for 30 years. And finally, they sent someone over, and the guy, repairman, came and he unplugged the dryer and he said, don't use this. This is a huge fire hazard. Don't plug it in. And at that moment, I was like, I'm, I'm so, everything is so new to me that I'm doubting myself in everything. So to answer your question, I think we all have to just allow ourselves space every single day to just get outside, go for a walk, do a meditation, just because all of these little things that you're used to doing just keep adding up. And that's survival mode, right? You're just going from one thing to the next. All these little things that you are used to being part of your life, they're just routine, are new and they're challenges. And those things just keep piling up. So when that happened, I thought, okay, I have to figure out how I can every day get out and just take care of myself. We call it self-care. Take care of myself so that I'm in a better space to manage these things. And also looking at my list, I don't have energy today to do 10 things. I have energy today to do 2 things. Like figure out.
But back when you were in a country you knew the language, perhaps, or where you're from, you could do 10. Your new reality
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
2 takes the same as 10. This is not a
Yes.
personal failing. You are doing
Right.
a lot. And so that
Exactly.
shift is really important.
Yes.
And I am allergic to the word self-care, I have to say,
Mm-hmm.
because when I
Mm-hmm.
had little kids, everyone would just say, you just need self-care. I'm like, no, I need community. I need a village. That's what I
Yeah.
need. I don't need
But
self-care.
that
I
also
did,
is taking
but
that is
yeah,
taking care of yourself. That is
yeah, yeah,
taking
yeah.
care of yourself. You're meeting your needs that way. So whatever you want to call it, I
Absolutely.
I hear you around self-care, but
No, I use it all you
yeah.
can. But what I think you're saying
Yeah.
is, you're saying self-care is also community. Self-care is
Mm-hmm.
also caring for your family. Self-care is also contributing to the betterment of the international community. So your caring for yourself is not optional.
It is not optional because if you are not your best self, you are not going to be able to then help your family, be in your family, participate, feel happy, whatever it is, manage your day-to-day life, go to work, all of those things.
Yeah. And as true as it is when you're in, your home country or where you're from or where you speak the language, whatever you want to call it, it's doubly important here because this is not going to end. This is your new reality.
Yeah.
Things will get easier. You'll learn the language, but then there's new things.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yes.
making this a practice and budgeting your time differently is a super important um, paradigm shift. I think that if people got to that earlier, these big crashes might be
Mm-hmm.
less
Yes.
common. And we've all had them, right? Big and small, even if it's a
Yeah.
day or a week where you're like, why is this so hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
My partner and I still have them. Today we had one. Like,
Totally.
why is it so hard? And it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
right. We're doing a lot.
Yes. We are doing a lot. Yeah.
And so I think that paradigm shift early on of this is not a luxury. This this is your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is harder, and also a lot of other great things. But taking credit for the things you're doing in a way I think is really important, and making sure that the paradigm shifts and you're still not thinking you need to tackle those 10 things on the list, or that you
Yeah.
can even.
Yeah.
That is a really good. You also are bringing up some really good points about how community functions. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'd like you to talk about your team. I really loved you use that word, your team, or your people, because you no longer have family or your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You're rebuilding your entire social structure.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't
Mm-hmm.
you tell me a little bit about that? I love how you're bringing the social work aspect and the mental health and the
Mm-hmm.
international together so we can look at it all at the same time. So what does that look like for people? What's the strategy?
Well, so the first thing I would like to say is everybody has a different way of, everyone has a different comfort level of putting themselves out there. So I am the kind of person, I mean, I have a background in communication and community building. So for me, I love to network. I love to meet new people. I prefer to go to situations by myself so I can connect with other people that are there and meet new people. That's just who I am. So for me, I what I tell people is figure out, be clear about how you feel about connecting in a community. Do you prefer to have a one-to-one setting? Do you prefer to have an art class? Do you like to exercise? Do you like to, whatever it is? For parents who come, they are they have more of a social network already built in than people who come that don't have children or who have children that are in high school, right? It's
Yep.
there's just
School
different
drop
levels of.
off is a way to feel surrounded by people.
Yes. So for people who have kids, use that time. This is what I tell everybody. When you go out somewhere, put down your phone, be available, look around, be available to talk to people. I think that sometimes it's really hard for folks that have moved here and aren't sure, because we hear this a lot, how long they're going to be staying here. They often don't want to connect, or maybe haven't even consciously thought that, but don't connect because they're unsure if they're going to be staying. They don't feel, it's hard to connect when you're not sure. I might be leaving. And I think even for me, that was the way I felt in the beginning. And I know a couple of people that have, and as we experience in this life, lots of people move away. But I just decided that I'm going to connect with people as if I'm going to be here forever, because otherwise I'll never feel connected. I'll never feel settled, and I'll always feel this uncertainty. And that to me doesn't feel good. So I just think you have
That's a
to sort of,
mindset shift, right? Like that's a mindset shift.
yes,
It's an impermanence. It's a recognition of impermanence and letting that be okay.
yes. And it also is opening up yourself to heartbreak a little bit, because you might become very good friends with people who then move to another part of the world. And I think we all want to protect ourselves a little bit. And I even experienced that when we first moved here. I got this question a lot: how long are you going to be here? I felt like that was one of the first questions. And I was like, what? Why are they asking that? And it was like they were also assessing, do I want to connect with her if she's not going to be here? But I just feel like you want your home to feel nice. This is, I say to people, buy the plant. People are like, I'm not going to buy a plant. Buy the plant. You don't know, anything can change. Just
Yep.
get it, help
You could be
yourself
here.
to
You could be here 8 years, and you came for a year.
yes. You could be here for, exactly. Yeah.
And also, the plant can go to a new home always.
Yes, to somebody else that's coming here. Yes.
But buying the plant is a really good example of this idea of stalling your friendship, stalling your growth,
Yeah.
stalling your. And a lot of people feel it in
Connections.
with travel, right? Like I think the first year we traveled to like 5 different countries or something, and we're like, yeah, this is our life now, it's full. And then you
Mm.
kind of come back and you're like, but we don't know anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit. I love that you say you're opening yourself up to heartbreak, because you
Mm.
are. And that is
Mm-hmm.
just, again, one of those paradigm shifts. Like, it's now part of the territory for you. You
Yeah.
don't get the incredible people, meeting aligned people in rapid succession sometimes without this reality of this community does do a lot of moving around.
Yeah.
And you are one of those people now. So
Mm-hmm.
you also,
Mm-hmm.
I always say everyone's a flight risk, right? So a
Totally.
friend will say,
Totally.
we need to have coffee. And I'm like, oh God, are they leaving? Like, that's my
Yeah.
first thought.
I haven't heard from them for a while and then they want to meet. Oh
Yeah.
no.
I have like this radar that's like,
Yeah.
oh, they were asking about, like, there's these certain markers that you're like, oh, they're
Mm-hmm.
leaving. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I now
Mm-hmm.
have like a professional radar for when people are thinking about leaving,
Yeah.
because that's also a process, right? Starting up life in a new place is a process, but also shutting down and moving on to the next place is a big process, and it happens
Mm-hmm.
very similarly for a lot of people on the emotional
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. I mean, there's the grief and the loss and the transition right there. You're grieving people that are leaving, they're grieving, everyone's transitioning. I think the thing is that if you look back on the friends that you've had for your whole life, you've had those friends your whole life, and it takes a long time to make really good friends and deep friendships. And you have to nurture your friendships that you make here. I mean, you find your people, but then you have to nurture that. You have to put yourself out there a little bit and invite them for coffee, go for a run, join a group. When I first moved here, I dropped a note in every mailbox in my little block and said, come we're having drinks. And every single person came, and those people are the reason that we stay here. And not everybody wants to do that, but I
Find your
just
way. Find your way.
you have to find your way. And I could tell you a million things that I did that worked and a few things that didn't work. And you have to try. And you have to figure out what's right for you. And I think sometimes people don't know. So I can help people sort through that. What's worked? One of the things I do is what has worked, what hasn't worked, what do you want?
Yeah, that's amazing. And we're doing that. You're an extrovert, and obviously,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
but there's a way for everyone to find their way. But I think just pointing out that this is something that everyone goes through, and everyone's going to have to figure out. It's just the same as finding a place to live and putting your kids in
Yeah.
school. Finding your people is
Yeah.
like, should be on your list of, finding your people. And I think the more countries you do, I've talked to people who have, 10 countries they've moved to, or
Yikes.
the first time is always harder, but they have a process.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know their limits. They know, and when you meet these people, you can see they're like, you're going to be my best friend for the next year
Mm-hmm.
that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with that? Because I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I know I'm leaving. And then there's people like you and I, maybe, that have an undetermined end date for
Yeah.
when we're here.
Yeah.
And I think those of us who are doing that have a less well-defined process.
I think so too. Yes. And the other thing I want to say is I agree with what you're saying there. And also, there are people that didn't want to make this move. And so that's another category of people um, who have an even more difficult time of finding their people and getting connected. And
Yeah,
people who've
they're not
left.
on the canals like feeling so lucky.
No, or people that have left their careers and really it's really a struggle to figure out,
Yeah.
all of that. I mean, I think there's so many things um that make it so challenging for people in all these different situations, and it really is individual how everyone sorts it out and figures out how they're going to make the best of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are commonalities. Yeah.
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 And that brings up why having an individual coach like you,
Mm.
to help them figure out their process, what works for them. And it sounds like even professionally,
Mm-hmm.
there's things. So there's the professional network that you kind of have to rebuild in a way
Mm-hmm.
in certain circumstances, especially if you're coming with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so there's social, there's your kids, there's professional. And so
Mm-hmm.
really you're, in a way, you're developing a new part of yourself.
You're totally recreating yourself. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, if you see it that way, to be who you want, to recreate yourself. I think um, my hat was, I mean, it was like I was sort of forced into doing this business because I couldn't do what I normally do in the way that I was doing it in the US. And in the US, I'd been always thinking, oh, I'm going to open a private practice, but I didn't because I was comfortable and I had a great job and blah, blah, blah. So it was an opportunity for me to do something that I've wanted to do. So there's definitely
But
opportunity.
you had to change it, right? Because your licensure, is it a licensure problem?
No, I call I have my license. I've maintained my license in the US, and I can work here in the Netherlands as a licensed clinical social worker and call myself a counselor. I call myself a counselor because if I say licensed clinical social worker, nobody really knows what that means. And I just am like, this is what I do. I'm a counselor, consultant, and a coach. So I just, to make it easy for people to understand. I mean, even in the US, I'd have to say I'm a social worker and they go, oh, you're here to take my baby away, which,
Yeah.
no. I mean, I'm used to that as a social worker, like having to always define myself. So here I'm like, well, I'm just going to say what I'm doing because this is what I'm doing. But I
Right.
do have the professional background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's cool that your license is recognized, because I know some other licenses, like I think lawyers and nurses or medical professionals,
Yeah.
they aren't always transferable, so they end up doing something completely different.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool. And so that
Yes.
just speaks to this being really creative with
Yeah.
what you're doing. Like whatever you were doing before, you're going to have to find a new take on that, maybe, or find a new audience, or maybe you didn't like what you're doing and this is a chance to take those skills, which is kind of my story. I did not like
Mm-hmm.
it. I just couldn't be a mom of three and do what I was doing. You can't really
Yeah.
be gone for half the month when you have three kids, or at
Right.
least I didn't want to be. And so I
Yeah.
had to really take all the tools I had learned and put them into something else. And
Yeah.
that is quite a process. And I did have help from a coach, and really getting to the essence of what and why you do things. And that is
Mm.
a really transformative process, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it leads
Yeah.
to
And
some really incredible businesses, actually, in the
totally,
international community. Yeah.
yes. I think that's the thing. Amsterdam really does support people who want to be entrepreneurs. I'm surprised at how easy that felt to just like get a business started. It's of course very difficult to get a business off the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But also I like that I can do what I want to do. And one of the things that being an entrepreneur, I really feel connected into the entrepreneur community and recognize all the emotional support that is needed in that community. Um, so that is not something that I ever would have considered. It's just opened a door for me there. And I'm launching this net walking group, which is for creative and health and wellness entrepreneurs. I've partnered with a woman out of the UK. She's a female founder. And I think I never would have imagined this being, but it fits with me because all my services are walk and talks. I want everyone to get out. I want everyone to move. But it's just like all these doors opened up. And it's
Yeah.
been years in the making. Let's
Yeah.
just be clear.
Yeah. You had to catch up with your mission.
Totally.
Yeah. Your mission found you, and that is so. So tell me what you are doing. So tell me,
Okay.
and if I've just moved here, I love that you say new or not so new. So
Yeah.
like, even if you find yourself having this desire to
Mm-hmm.
reimagine or find your people, find who you are in this space, when someone comes to you, how do you work with them? What does it look like to work with Erin?
So it just sort of depends on what they're looking for. But let's just say somebody comes and says, I've been here for 2 years. I cannot make friends. I can't connect with Dutch people. I'm feeling really lonely. I don't, I want my friends to know my kids' birthdays. I want to have Saturday night dinners. I want people to come over and watch movies, go out for dinner. So that's the first thing I'll do is ask people, like, what is it that you want? And sometimes people don't know. They might just be sad. They might just be lonely. But I really will do an assessment to sort of ask what's going on. And allow some space to talk about what has worked, what hasn't worked, what do you want to try, how do you like to integrate yourself, how do you like to meet people, do you have a sport that you like to do. I'll go through sort of all of those things, but all along that way I'll provide emotional support to people. But we'll also be making a plan. We need to have a goal at the end of this. What is the goal? I really want people to be able to work towards something, feel a little challenged. I have tons of resources. I have tons of connections. I can help people get connected. And
it's like a life therapist.
maybe, maybe. I mean, I've done, anyway. Yeah. So I really meet people where they are. And if it's just ongoing sort of situational depression, I'll work with people around that and see if we can work together. Let's go out and do some exercise. Let's see if that helps you a little bit. If I need to, I'll work with a primary care or general practitioner. If it's more serious than that, I also have the skills to assess more serious depression, and I will then help that person to get connected to somebody else. I've also supported people who are in a career change and really want to get connected professionally into the community here. So I have a client who really wants to get connected into the community and build a business here, has an established business somewhere else. So I help him to get connected into my connections. We do every week, we talk, we figure out what he wants to do, who he wants to connect with, and I help him get connected. I do direct handoffs to people.
Yeah. And so that in that way, you are like a confidant.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there to be supportive alongside. And my ultimate goal is I want to see people do well. I want to see them be happy and thrive. I know that it's not easy, and I am there to support you through that. Yeah.
This is a very specialized thing, right? It's a very niche thing, but so important, because as we always say, like, these are the years of your life. You're here in this place creating something, and this is a story, this is a chapter in your life story. And so I think that you are, I don't know, I have so many words for it, like a doula, a confidant, like the person that can kind of be a little bit of a guide and support in that portion of their life and what changes they want to see, right? So and that is really beautiful, and I think that's really fun. And so it's a determined amount of time. They come to you and they have a goal, and then you help them kind of get as far as they can in that goal, and then help them find other people to get them to the next level.
Yes. So
they're
maybe not feeling as lonely, less isolated, less disconnected, maybe feeling a little physically healthier.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just nice to hear, this is normal.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what I offer, is that I have the background from a coaching mental health background, but I also have been through it. So I get it. And I know how challenging it is. And if I can help somebody get connected a little faster than what I did, that, I've been through it. So you don't have to go through it all on your own. I can help you and get you guided. Yeah. Directed. Yeah.
So buy the plant.
Buy the plant. Yes. Go outside every day.
Go outside, touch grass, buy the plant.
Yeah. Yes.
Reach out, even though if you don't know how long you're going to be here.
Yes. Find your favorite coffee shop, coffee cafe, or shop. Go for a walk, explore a new neighborhood, and then you feel connected and get out on your, I don't know if you bike or not, but the biking culture is something else we could talk about forever. I absolutely love the biking culture. It's why we're here. Yep. But I will tell you that if I am out on my bike, I almost daily will run into someone that I see. And that helps me to feel connected into the community. Or I know how to get somewhere without looking at my Google Maps. That helps you to feel connected. So don't just stay in your apartment, go out, explore. Those are things, if you're an introvert, those are things that help you to feel connected. Yeah. And put your phone down.
Put your phone down. These are all really good starting points. And then if you need help or guidance, or on this next part of, and you get stuck, you can reach out. There's resources, and resources in the most beautiful way, because this is a valid thing, a valid stage of being an international person, even though
Mm-hmm.
no one really talks about it that much except for us. So, yeah, that's great. How can people reach you, Erin? And what do you have coming up that we should know about, or what's on?
So, my website is relocationcounseling.com, and you can go there and see what I offer. I have some packages up there. You can book a free 20-minute phone call straight from the website. But I do a lot of bespoke things as well. I have some suggestions up there of how I can help people, but just
So
always reach out to me.
yeah, if people feel connected to you right now, they can just reach out.
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
I am on Instagram at my handle is at Today I Was Asked. I'm keeping that because that's how people know me. And I go on there with sort of what's coming up. Um, Separately, I am a co-partner on a rental space, which is a whole nother part of this. And I offer some things there. We do co-working pop-ups, which is great for internationals who want to come and meet each other. And you can find that information at Space for Change. And as I mentioned, I have the net walking group that's starting on the 24th for creatives and health and wellness entrepreneurs. And we're going to meet on the fourth Thursday of every month. I've mapped out a walk and we'll have coffee. And it's really about connecting and supporting each other in that entrepreneurial role. Yeah. And then every quarter or so, I organize an event. I've done a few at a rowing center. And anyway, so just I love to organize and get people connected. So stay tuned
You
via
like to get people
Instagram.
moving and connected.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really important. And so people can find out about that on your Insta. Is that the best place to stay up to date?
Yeah, Instagram, and they can always log on to my website as well. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll put it in the show notes.
Thank you.
I love everything you're up to. I think it's so beautiful. And I'm really, really glad that you could come on today and tell us about it. Erin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.